it's iRacing commentator David Haynes. In 2019, I'm excited to be bringing coverage of the ChampCar Sim Series, the sim racing division of the ChampCar Endurance Series. Contested across 15 championship rounds using the 2015 Mazda MX-5, the winners will receive a free entry into a real ChampCar Endurance Series race in the 2020 season. Each points round will be broadcast live by HJBC. Head to forum.champcar.org for full information and schedule. Sign-ups are open, so get registered now. Best of luck, and I'll see you at the track.
Shut up and sit down.
Situated near Birmingham, Alabama, Barber Motorsports Park is host to tonight's round of the ChampCar Sim Series, the series that is paying a free entry into a ChampCar round of the winner's choice at the end of this season. There's plenty on the line, but there's also a great opportunity for some friendly virtual racing with fellow ChampCar competitors. Also, fantastic opportunity to learn some of these circuits, practice some of your skills, because you can just never get enough seat time. So we have quite a strong field tonight, nearly as many as 20 cars for round 13, which is fantastic. Qualifying is underway right now before we head into a 1-hour race in these 2015 specification Mazda MX-5 open-top roadsters, and an interesting little car for a circuit like this, and the iRacing vehicle that most accurately represents some of the vehicles that people drive in ChampCar Endurance Series. So we look forward to this race, qualifying wrapping up very shortly. I'm David Haynes, and producer tonight is Michael Derby, and alongside me for today's coverage it's also going to be Andrew Fawcett. And well, what's your thoughts on Barber here? Because it's a pretty short little circuit and the corners come up fast. There's a lot of them, a lot of time spent braking, turning. You've got to have a car that goes where you want it.
Yeah, good evening, David. I'm watching Alex Albert qualify. Yeah, Barber Motorsports Park is a great driver's racetrack. Lots of elevation change, lots of different types of corners. We have, tight chicanes, hairpins, long sweeping corners. It really has it all. So this is a real driver's racetrack, real challenging racetrack to get right lap after lap. So I think it's going to provide some interesting racing for us. And this is a great car for this racetrack. It's really suited towards low-powered cars.
Certainly is. Just over a minute remaining of qualifying, and Alex Albert's currently got himself right at the pointy end there. Justin Hall, who did well last time at Auto Club Speedway, has managed to find a bit of pace around here as well, so he's in second. Brandon Schoen is doing a fantastic job there in third. Not a name we've said a whole lot this season so far, but he's there just 4/10 off the fastest time. And he's going to start from the second row as things stand right now. Bradley Daly is not on circuit trying to improve. He's got the fourth fastest time. And I should mention some of the weather conditions. And for that, I think I'm going to have to hand it over to you.
Yeah, that's right. Here in America, it is 70 degrees out here in lovely Alabama, 73-degree track temp. So really cool track temp for these guys to deal with. It means a lot of grip and probably not as much tire degradation and hot tires as they've been dealing with the rest of the season. Winds southwest at 12 miles an hour. It's quite a bit of wind. So I'm going to be expecting not a lot of slipping and sliding around here. It's a pretty grippy track. It's a cool track. So I'm going to be expecting to see some fast lap times.
Yeah, indeed. So our 1 hour race that's ahead of us, the cars all start with a restricted amount of fuel and will need to pit in the race to take on fuel. Then it's also at the driver's discretion if in that same pit stop they choose to take a set of tires as well, which can often take just a little bit longer. So when the weather is hot and the tires are very greasy and going away from you, sometimes that extra 5 seconds or so in the pit lane, you can gain it back with a new set of tires. But as I think you point out, with the weather rather cool, great conditions for racing, I think that the tires will stay in their optimum window a little bit longer and they won't give up life quite as quickly. So probably we'll see most drivers only taking fuel. The flagman is busy waving that checkered flag on the qualifying session. Any driver still out on a lap can complete them. But I don't see many drivers left out on the circuit. We've had a 1 hour qualifying session, so there's only some drivers desperately trying to improve in the final minutes that we had out there. Still waiting for the session to be officially completed before we run down the starting order for you. But certainly 18 drivers that have had an opportunity to set a qualifying time, and 15 that have successfully done so as it stands right now. I see 2 more cars coming across the line. Are going to be any improvement there? Not seeing any.
Yeah, it looks like Alex Albert was just trying one last attempt to improve his time. He's already got about 2.5 tenths over Justin Hall, but it never hurts to improve your time a little.
Chris Knisley is currently sitting in 6th, and he's still out there on circuit. I don't know if he's on a valid lap or he's just taking every opportunity to get a bit of warm-up, get a bit of practice, and get acclimatized. But he's only got a couple more corners to go around his lap. Of course, we are seeing lap times around about 1 minute 40, so definitely a bit shorter than some of the other laps where a car like this can take 2 minutes or so. Pretty zippy around here. So through the final corner comes Chris Knisley. He's coming towards the starters stand, and we'll see if this is any improvement for him. Across the line he goes, and that lap time is not looking like it was an improvement for him. Time up on the session, and as the cars are all going to form up on our grid for our rolling start, we'll take a look at that qualifying order. So on the front row, some HJ Motorsport teammates there of Alex Albert and Justin Hall. Behind them, it's an all B second row with Brandon Schoen and Bradley Daly. Thomas Ellison is in 5th with Chris Knisley, we talked about, in 6th place there. He holds on to that one in his green machine. 7th place, Lee Mullerman. 8th place, Jay Safianek. 9th place is Aaron Thorpe. 10th is Scott Grinnell. Jacob Beenan in 11th. Paul Roddy in 12th there. Row behind that, David Palermo and Jared Douglas. I believe the last driver who set a qualifying time was Alex Samardzic. And then the remaining 3 drivers who are still eligible to take the start of this race if they wish, Lewis Morga, Simon Foweather, and Jack Myers. We do a full pace lap here around Barber, so all the cars forming up at the start-finish line behind the, in my opinion, beautiful Porsche 911 safety car there. And it'll lead them around for one circuit. He'll pull into the pit lane, and Alex Albert will control the field, jump when he chooses to, before the green flag if he so wishes, and we'll get underway racing for 1 hour. And again, all these cars starting with just 4.2 gallons of fuel in the tank, which will require them to make a pit stop. A little bit of fuel saving might be on the cards for some of our drivers. One driver not particularly getting away from the dummy grid in a hurry there, but they are going to make that formation lap now.
Yeah, I think this race is really going to be a lot about track position. I think that since the tires are really not going to be a big factor, I think where you are on track when you come into the pits is really going to be crucial. So I think you got to take advantage of the start. I think people like Tom Ellison, who we've seen this season has a lot of pace and potential for wins, I think he's got to make up a few spots if he really wants to contend for the win or a top 3 position there with his teammates there on the front row.
And Tom, one of several drivers who've driven around Barber here in real life. Starting out at 6th place, Chris Knisley a bit of a native to this area as well. So let's see if that gives him any advantage or any confidence in today's race. Agree with your assessment there about track position. I think passing is probably going to be more difficult here than at some other circuits. Normally, we see the slipstream is pretty powerful in these cars. It can be difficult to shake someone. But around here, all the straights are a little bit shorter, a lot more corners where your driving skill and advantage can show. So yeah, track position could be important, and hand in hand with that is pit stop time, not taking too much fuel, not wasting time in or out of the pit lane. And of course, maybe saving time by not taking a new set of tires.
Yeah, I definitely think the tires are not going to be something you're really going to want. I don't think they're going to be that big of a delta as far as performance goes with this lap time. To think if we had a hot, slick track that was wore out, it might be a factor, but I'm not sure it's really going to be a factor tonight. We'll see. Maybe someone can make it work.
15 turns here around Barber, and on this pace lap, they've just about seen most of them. There's only a couple more corners before that safety car pulls in, and our field will be led to green. And of course, the pit entries are sort of on the outside of turn 14. And then we've got the final corner where our pole sitter could even put the hammer down and try and get away before that final corner. We'll see what he does. My eyes are on him as that safety car is pulled in. Alex Albert leads the field up front. He bunches them up towards the final corner. And about at the apex, I think he puts the power down. We are green flag racing at Barber Motorsports Park in the ChampCar Sim Series. Great jump from Alex Albert, but they're still side by side over third place behind Justin Hall in towards turn 1, which very much drops away and then into that very long right-hander. Most cars, at least at the front of the field, appear to be through cleanly so far. Brandon Schoen is doing everything he can to try to hold on to that third position. He's got cars stacked up right behind him.
Yeah, all the drivers looks like they got away clean through this first lap. Everyone is in line here, just trying to settle in for this long 1 hour race.
Tom Ellison showing his nose around the spider sculpture to Bradley Daly, and Bradley Daly's also taking a look at Brandon Schoen for that final podium position. Almost a bit of a bump draft between third and fourth right now. Yeah, they're still in the order that they started on the grid, but these three are going very hard out here indeed. And Justin Hall is definitely not letting Alex Albert get away either. Off that start, Lee Mullerman grabbed one position away from Chris Knisley, and the only other position that changed was Paul Roddy got ahead of Jacob Beenan. 14 cars running right now.
Yeah, the 18th of Jared Douglas seems like he's dropped off the pack, but everyone else looks like they're racy and competitive, and right on the bumper, the guy ahead of them. Tom is really on the back of this car here in front of him, and the number 12 Bradley Daly, he is not letting him breathe at all.
Brandon Schoen got a couple of tires in the grass in third place, but not as much of this action that we're seeing in fourth place, where they're side by side. Daly's holding the inside from Ellison through the final corner. Ellison pushes a little bit wide, almost has to get out of it, but he's got a run heading towards turn 1. This is a potential out-braking zone. It is a potential place for a pass. He's going to look down the inside. He's a bit deeper on the brakes. He gets a lane width towards the inside. That's the outside for the next corner. And they make a little bit of contact. Indeed. So Daly's trying to hold on to it. Ellison is going to come around the outside. This lets Lee Mullerman and Chris Knisley, who are side by side behind, close up as well. Great 4-car pack.
Yeah, it looks like they had a little door check there going through that long sweeping corner. Looks like Bradley Daly has a little bit of fender damage. I don't think it's going to affect him really, as Lee Mullerman is really riding those curves.
Yeah, Mullerman got checked up a bit on the inside of that hairpin, and around the outside, Chris Knisley has taken a position back. So Knisley back up into 6th. I think he lost that one at the start of the race, so he hasn't been wasting time trying to get it back. Now he's checked up behind Bradley Daly, who looks like he's very quick occasionally, but sometimes struggles at the limit. He had a big handful of oversteer through turn 2. And now he's going to remain under pressure from that green car of Chris Knisley. Knisley's got a run at him, but it's not easy to pass most of the way around this circuit. So Knisley has to back out a little bit. He'll be hoping for a mistake out of Daly somewhere. Tom Ellison is getting away and out very wide. goes Daly. And there's also a problem out there for Jason Finiak, who's just dropped 5 positions. So I'm not sure what went on for him. But our best battle right now is over 5th place, where Daly's a bit of a cork in the bottle. Knisley and Mullerman are side by side. Mullerman might get that position back again.
Yeah, it looks like Jay had a small self spin there, trying to use a little too much curb. He didn't hit the wall or anything, just a little curb. Got to go in again, and unfortunately, he's lost quite a bit of time with that spin.
Well, there we go. The curbs around here, some of them pretty tall, and of course the suspension not particularly tunable in these cars, so the damping might not be to your liking to hop over too many curbs around here. The lead of the race, Justin Hall is pretty close to Alex Albert, not letting him get away, and Brandon Schoen putting on some great pace as well. So our top 3 still covered by underneath 1 second, and Brandon Schoen in 3rd place has the fastest lap of the race as well.
Yeah, this top 3 is really breaking away from Ellison. I think he's really going to make quite a few good laps here, get his head down, and see if he can catch this pack and get in the draft. The draft isn't super huge here, but any little bit helps, and I think that's what's helping these guys get away from it.
Yep, exactly. Alex Albert, if he can take the win here today, would definitely cement his place at the lead of the points tally in this championship. I can see 2 guys behind him, though, who might not make that easy for him. His main title rival, John D. Allen, missing for the 2nd round in a row, which is very unfortunate because we'd seen some great battles earlier in this championship, and those 2 have been very, very evenly matched individually in some races, but also across the championship. Justin Hall's going to come under pressure in 2nd place. He had a bit of a scruffy run through the final corner. Brandon Schoen nailed that turn 15 side by side into turn 1. The inside line is Brandon Schoen. He gets clear so he can take the racing line through turn 2 as well. Justin Hall loses 3rd place. Brandon Schoen through into 2nd, but he's lost a little bit of time to Alex Albert making that move. So Schoen is going to need to have a great lap this time to stay in touch with the leader. It's also let Tom Ellison get a little bit closer to 3rd place as well. So some very, very close racing here at Barber. That's great to see. Had some other rounds, some other circuits where the field spread has been a little bit greater than what it looks like so far today.
Yeah, it looks like Paul Roddy and Aaron Thorpe are having a decent battle. Paul Roddy in that lovely pink pig livery hunting down Aaron Thorpe. They have been bumper to bumper for the last lap or so. I've been watching them, and Paul Roddy has a really great start here, up 3 positions from his start position, and looking to make it 4.
Yeah, exactly. Paul Roddy is our biggest mover so far, and he's got a great run through that corner near the museum, but it's so tough to pass with these 2 back straight S's. He has his nose to the inside of one of these little chicanes on Aaron Thorpe, and he's just trying to force a mistake out of Thorpe, but it's not really a passing place unless you're all the way side by side at the turn-in point. Roddy just wasn't close enough, but he's looking pretty quick. He has a bit of a moment, bit of oversteer there across the grass. He'll gather that up, but he's going to lose out there. It's just a little bit too close behind the car in front. Lost some of his visual markers, and once the car starts sliding, it's a bit of a handful.
Oh my gosh, everyone is off the track here. I'm watching the 14 of David Palermo. I saw Jacob Beenan off the track. I've seen several people off the track here, so this section of the track is definitely challenging for some of these drivers.
Yeah, a lot of elevation change, some quick flicks there as well. We'll get a replay of plenty of action in the mid and lower pack there, and I think a lot of that started with some of those drivers trying to avoid Paul Roddy, who was facing sideways in the grass just off the apex of the corner.
Yeah, that action has kind of broken up this mid-pack field. Looks like everyone's kind of single file, and no one's too close to each other, and everyone's just kind of sitting in a line.
So then at the pointy end of the race, Alex Albert has broken away about 1.3, 1.4 seconds. Battle over 2nd continues, where Brandon Schoen remains under a little bit of pressure from Justin Hall, who's riding along right behind him, and Tom Ellison closed in on them on the last lap as well, so he's within a second of Justin Hall. That basically means a 3-car battle over 2nd place. Alex Albert has the fastest lap of the race right now, so he's taken that away from Brandon Schoen. And Schoen runs a little bit wide, 2 tires on the grass, carries on, but we see that happen quite a few times coming over that particular crest. Justin Hall is taking a unique line through the last 2 corners, trying to open up the final corner to get a run down the pit straight at Brandon Schoen. He's closing. I don't know if he'll be close enough into turn 1 this time. He certainly proved that he can get a good run through that final corner, and that looks like where most of the overtaking is going to happen here, is trick your opponent into taking a poor entry into the final corner so they don't get a great run. And then turn 1 looks like the key overtaking opportunity.
I think Tom has a big decision to make here in the next lap or two. He's catching these 2 ahead of him, but they are not gaining on Alex Albert, the leader. So does he sit behind Justin Hall? And does he sit behind Justin Hall? Ellison has the fastest lap of the race that time.
He does. 39.9 from Tom Ellison. So he's got the hammer down, flying along now. And that plays into what you're saying there, that he's got Hall and Schoen in front of him who don't look like they can quite match that pace, don't look like they can close in on Albert. But the numbers for Ellison say that maybe he can.
Right. He could either risk racing these guys and lose a bunch of time, or maybe he can stay behind them and save some fuel, or I don't know. But it's going to be a decision time, as he is really right on the back bumper of Justin Hall coming through this chicane.
So 3 battlers out there on circuit right now. That great battle over second place. Behind them, Bradley Daly and Chris Knisley still fighting it out over 5th place. Knisley is monstering Daly right now, but hasn't been able to find a way through. We also got a battle over 8th place. That's Aaron Thorpe and Scott Grinnell. Scott Grinnell up 1 position from where he qualified as well.
Lee Mulliman goes wide in the second to last corner. He's going to lose a bunch of time to Aaron Thorpe. And he might lose the position as he slow down the front stretch.
Yep, so Thorpe's closing in on Mulliman, but I don't know if he'll get there before turn 1. He sort of backs out of that one, but it's down a 3-car train over 7th, and Mulliman lost as much as 4 seconds or so on that lap, so that's cost him a bit of time. Got David Palermo in the pit lane, and that elevates Jacob Beenan and Jared Douglas up a position as well.
Yeah, I'm watching this pit stop, David, to see if he takes fuel or tires or both. I mean, he's got to take fuel, but I'm curious to see if he takes tires.
It's a long stop right now, more than 30 seconds, so might be some repairs going on there. I don't know if this could even potentially be a retirement for David Palermo. Not sure, but we'll see if that car rejoins the race later. It's closing up at 2nd place. Hall is within 2 car lengths or so of Brandon Schoen, keeping the pressure on, and I think the same is true of Tom Ellison. Pretty similar distance right behind Hall. So you've got 3 cars pretty close together there in shot, just 6 or so tenths between all of them. And they've closed in on Albert. There must have been an issue on this lap for Alex Albert. Brandon Schoen's now just within 1 second of Alex Albert, closing in on the leader. Albert's about to cross the start-finish line. We'll see what the lap was for him. So obviously lost a couple tenths, about half a second on that lap is what he's lost to the pursuing cars. As the sun comes out and the track temps are going to heat up a bit.
Yeah, track temp looks like it's come up about 3 degrees here, and we are getting some sunlight on the track, and that is going to bring the track temp up a little as these clouds are breaking up.
Daly is Schoen's taking a little bit of a defensive line to Justin Hall into the hairpin. Hall still sticks his nose down there. Tom Ellison doesn't know what to make of it behind, but they go side by side for 2nd place. Hall gets a reasonable run off the inside, but it's going to put him on the outside for the next complex of corners, and it's really only 1 line through that difficult section that right, left, and then right hairpin here. So
lots of curb being used.
Always seems like the quick way through there. Hall gets another good run, but again, he heads towards this section of S's where it's 1 line only, and it's not a big braking zone, so it's hard to get through. right at the bumper of Brandon Schoen for second place, but there's no way for Hall to get through here. Difficult to get track position, difficult to make a pass. I think Schoen's got this covered for the moment, and he's shown that he's got reasonable pace. Gosh, if you'll pardon the pun. So Hall right in there as well still. Ellison in fourth, watching on. They're getting a little bit more feisty over second place. Nearly 15 minutes of racing in, still 46 minutes of racing to go, still a set of pit stops for everyone. So no need to get too aggressive yet, but Hall is going to take a look down the inside.
Oh, looks like he's given him the spot. That is Brandon Schoen giving him 2 spots, gave up Thomas Ellison and Justin Hall spots. I hit the brakes on the front stretch there. I'm not sure if this is a strategic call, trying to save some fuel, or if he had to slow down or what. I didn't see him drive off the track. Did you, David?
No, I think he just had Justin Hall to the inside and decided he was going to back out, let these two guys get on and get with it. And like I say, still plenty of time for Brandon Schoen to save some fuel or come back into the race. Ellison's going to try and get up the inside of Justin Hall, and the two almost are going to bang fenders there. Hall's going to hold on to the inside for this next sequence of corners where we've seen it is so difficult to pass. So I think if Hall has the inside, he's got this covered. Schoen might try and come back on Tom Ellison. Ellison can't take his preferred racing line through there because he had Schoen down the inside, so that helps Hall. But Hall pushes wide. He's all 4 tires on the grass. There's no grip there, no traction, no drive. Ellison back into second place. Schoen is going to come back through into third, and Hall has dived it in a bit too deep there, and there's not a lot of paved runoff here at Barber. So he pays a little bit of a price for that. And he nearly had a wiggle coming back onto the circuit and collected Ellison, but he didn't. He was very polite to his fellow racers. This lets Albert get away in the lead to the tune of 2.5 seconds. It's now Ellison and Schoen battling over second place. Brandon Schoen, one of those names, is going to still try and take a look at Ellison. So maybe a strategic move from Brandon Schoen to let these two through earlier, because he hasn't lost touch with them.
Yeah, while we were watching this battle for the lead, Scott Grinnell got by Aaron Thorpe into the hairpin, just outbraked him and took the spot. So some battling still going on deep in the field. Oh, as Ellison is 4 tires off of the grass and defending.
Into that very long right-hander. It'll compromise his line, which might compromise his exit. And we've seen, as you point out, that turn 5 just coming up, also a great overtaking opportunity. Heavy braking, downhill and into a hairpin. Brandon Schoen to the inside of turn 5 and takes that position away from Tom Ellison. Good move by Schoen back up into second place. These guys trading plenty of positions. Justin Hall would like to get back in the picture as well. But as they fight, it is, as you mentioned earlier, Albert is getting away. The chance of any of these 3 winning fades a little bit as Albert continues to romp away into the sunset as these guys battle over second place. Knisley did get through on Bradley Daly as well a couple laps ago in 5th place, so they were having their own great little battle. Knisley up into 5th, and Grinnell ahead of Thorpe, as you mentioned there, Andrew Fawcett. So still a couple battles, but some positions changing place. Overtaking hasn't been impossible, but a lot of it has relied on a mistake from the driver in front. It's not been easy sailing past for any of these passes, I don't think.
Yeah, a lot of these passes are guy puts a tire on the grass or he breaks too deep. I think that haven't seen a whole lot of super clean passes made, but not too much contact. I think if you're one of these 3 drivers that is battling for the second spot, I think you got to start thinking about your strategy, maybe thinking about coming to pit road and getting that fuel and see if you can put down a few fast laps and try to build a gap, because I think that's the only way these guys are really going to catch back up to Albert, who has developed a very comfortable lead at about 2.5 seconds.
Thing is, Albert has the clean air. The guys behind aren't in his draft by any means, but Albert is still not immune from mistakes. It's a difficult track. There's some unsighted apexes, especially in the last sector that I can think of. And the last lap for Albert was a 41.2, so it was, give or take a second off his best as well. Brandon Schoen has just a tiny bit of room to himself. It's not out of the possibility that he could close up on Alex Albert. Another battle forming over 12th place. where Jacob Beenan's been closing in on Jared Douglas as well. Douglas has not been setting the timing screens alight, but he's also not been off the track so much. So I think Beenan is recovering, trying to come back at Jared Douglas there. Joseph Ianek's battling with Paul Roddy over 10th. There's only 2 cars on my timing screen on the circuit that don't appear to be in a battle. So Barber proving it really suits these cars, creating some close racing up and down the fields.
Yeah, I mean, worst. My entire timing and scoring screen over here is lit up with battles. So everywhere you look, there is some exciting racing, which is the beauty of this league. It's the beauty of ChampCar in general. It's for all skill levels, and that's what we're really seeing playing out here at Barber.
So scruffy lap there from Justin Hall, drops back a little bit of time in 4th place. Tom Ellison was the fastest driver out on that lap with a 40.5, which was, pardon me, 0.6 faster than Alex Albert in the lead as well. So they can still see the lead. They've still got a whiff of it.
Yeah, I'm seeing Alex Albert has had incidents on those last 2 laps, pardon me. So definitely not having, a clean drive away from the field. He's maybe slipping up a little here and there, and that could develop into a big mistake. Although we've seen Alex, he's a pretty stone cold driver. I don't think he really makes many mistakes.
I think you can't question his focus, but you also can't downplay how difficult lap after lap at this circuit can be with all that undulation change. And speaking of that, Jacob Beenan goes for a spin. I was watching him pursuing Jared Douglas, and he's pushed it too hard into turn 1. Track drops away from you there, so if you've got too much brake and too much steering input in as you come over the crest, the car can swap ends on you, and the same deal can happen several corners around this circuit. There's plenty of elevation change in the braking zones and turn-in points around here.
Looks like Paul Roddy just got by Jay Sofiniak for 10th position.
Yep, so some positions changing hands. Paul Roddy's up 2 places from where he started on the grid. And Brandon Schoen's just gone and set his best lap of the race to continue to close down the lead to Alex Albert. Our first of the regular pit stops, it looks like Bradley Daly is going to be that driver. Came in out of 6th place it was. He's on pit road. Let's see what he can do for a pit stop time. Is it going to be just fuel, or is he coming in a bit early because he fancies a new set of tires and an undercut on Chris Knisley?
Looks like he's taking tires. Yep, 4 tires there for Bradley Daly.
It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him, I suppose, is one way to put it. 23.6 seconds on my end to pit stop time. And even though the conditions are cold, there might be enough corners, enough braking zones around here that he can claw back a couple seconds with a new set of tires. There's some other tracks where you spend a lot more time wide open throttle and there's less braking zones than around here. So maybe even though the track conditions are cold and pretty cool, pretty grippy, there still might be enough around Barber here that he can regain the 2 or 3 extra seconds that taking a set of tires costs in the pit lane. Because like we've seen, you spend about half the time with a bit of steering angle on.
And all of a sudden, Alex Albert's 2-second lead is gone. Brennan Schoen and Tom Ellison are right on his bumper.
Several laps in a row in the 1 minute 41s for Alex Albert, and it seems like a competitive lap is anything you can put in the 1 minute 40s. So Schoen gained a whole second on that last lap, and I didn't have eyes on exactly where that time was lost, but just from the idea of the timing screen, Albert is struggling for some consistency. Didn't struggle for 1 lap pace in qualifying, but across several laps, he's sort of wide of the apex through turn 5. And then this next complex of corners is probably one of the most tricky on the circuit. Braking, turning, over the curbs, downhill, and into a hairpin. It's got everything that can be a bit difficult. So Schoen is just so bold on the brakes through there. Gets to the apex of that hairpin, and it's only a car length or so. It's 0.3 of a second that he's behind the lead of the race.
Yeah, it looks like Tom is just sitting back and watching these two battle it out. I'm not sure if he's saving fuel or if he's just backing off, but he definitely has a little bit of a 3/10 gap back. And Justin Hall has dropped considerably off the back of this pack. I'm not sure if he made a mistake or what happened, but he has dropped off this lead pack. It's the first time we've seen him really this far back from the lead.
Yeah, Hall had a mistake a couple laps ago. Brandon Schoen is got his nose down the inside for the lead of the race. Tom Ellison behind dives into the pit lane. He sees the two cars in front going side by side and decides, maybe I can undercut these fellas if they're going to keep battling like this. So Hall is also closing in on the lead of the race. Yeah, interesting.
Smart call from Tom.
I
think we'll see how the undercut works for him. We'll see if he can make the outlap work and set some fast times, and hopefully he doesn't get involved in some traffic. We'll see where he comes out to.
Yeah, I'm sensing he might come out around Paul Roddy and Jay Safiniak, who are still sort of battling over ninth there. Hall is closing in on the lead of the race, so he's not... He was a little bit far back, but now he has an opportunity to close back in on the picture. Tom Ellison, what's his pit stop time going to be? 20.8 seconds. That looks like fuel only for Ellison. He's trying to keep his pit lane time to an absolute minimum. And we've seen him in some other races be one of the earlier guys to jump into the pit lane. You can come in and make your pit stop pretty early because, like we say, it's a fuel limit at the start of the race. Everyone starts with 4.2 gallons, but you can come in pretty early in the race, be able to fill the tank higher than 4.2 gallons and be able to get to the end. So we're before the halfway point of the race, but anyone who has pitted is definitely fueled to get to the end. Ellison's come out behind Paul Roddy and Jay Safiniak, so if our top two cars stay out for a while and Ellison has to work his way through those drivers, he might actually end up losing a bit of time. They're under no obligation to let him through. So you said track position might be king, but Albert is going to dive onto pit lane as well. He's going to react to that pit stop from Tom Ellison. So that lets Schoen and Hall through into first and second. Alex Albert, this is a crucial pit stop. He's going to try and come out in front of Tom Ellison if he can.
Yeah, if I'm Tom Ellison, I am really hoping these two guys who have been battling all race are pitting soon, because getting by them is going to be very tricky. Watching Tom here as we're waiting for Alex's pit stop to come to an end, see where Tom comes out, see if the undercut worked for him.
Yeah, exactly. They very well might be side by side on that pit exit. Paul Roddy and Jay Safiniak come through. Tom Ellison is going to maybe come on through because Albert had 21.6 seconds of service. He passes the green cones at the exit. It's going to come on through, and they are just about going to be side by side through turn 2, and Ellison is going to make it work. A little bit wide from Albert, and Ellison has successfully undercut Alex Albert. Two of them now in what could be the effective battle for the race lead, down in 9th and 10th, and still closing in on Paul Roddy and Jay Safiniak, who are yet to pit. So we'll keep an eye on what some of these lap times look like, because if Brandon Schoen and Justin Hall can put down some quick laps right now, and the pace for Ellison and Albert with a heavy fuel load is not as quick as it was earlier, then going longer might be a strategy that works for them.
Yeah, I think this is really going to work for Tom. I'm looking at the last lap here by Justin Hall and Brandon Schoen, both in the 41s, and that is not exactly as competitive as we've been seeing these guys the last couple laps. So the undercut might have worked for Ellison and Albert. Let's just have to see where they feed out as Brandon Schoen goes across the start-finish line one more time.
Justin Hall reacts as well, so he's in the pit lane. So 3 laps in a row, we've had some drivers jump in. Again, where is Hall going to come out relative to those others? Some very good pit stop times from Alex Albert, seeing as his pit crew appear to be turtles. So they've kept up the pace, all of that considered. In the box for Justin Hall, crossed 10 seconds now, looking for a pit stop time of just over 20 seconds. Don't see the car going up on the jack, so it's fuel only for Hall as well. 22, 23, 24 seconds. This is too long for Justin Hall. Has he been speeding on the way into the pit lane? Has he picked up 15 seconds of penalty for that? Doesn't look like it. Just 29 seconds in the box. That is too long. Ellison and Albert already through Justin Hall, what went wrong with that pit stop? He's taken on far too much fuel by the looks of it.
Yeah, I think he's probably had too much fuel. I'm looking at his pit speed time as he's gone down pit road. He's well under the speed limit, so I think that's just too much fuel in that gas tank.
Tom Ellison and Alex Albert have cleared Aaron Thorpe. They've jumped through there very quickly. That hasn't lost them too much time in traffic there, but Tom Ellison's lap that time, his first flying lap since his pit stop, 1 minute 41.3. Our leader Brandon Schoen at 41.0. So at the moment, it's still going in the favor of Brandon Schoen. So has there been a problem on this lap for Schoen?
Well, he's coming into the pits now. Let's see if
there is damage on that front right, is there not?
Oh, there is. Wow, he went off the track.
He's found the barrier in the final sector, so Schoen's going to immediately jump into the pit lane, but take a look at that. Bounced over the curb, got on the grass, too aggressive, trying to get the car back on the bitumen, and gone for a bit of a slide, lost control, nose first into one of the Armco barriers on the outside of, that might be turn 13 or turn 14, so then he's taken it right down onto pit lane. That's not catastrophic for Brandon Schoen because he will have a fast repair that he's able to use. He's within the pit window, so overall that might have cost him only 10 seconds or so, but he was looking at an opportunity for a win, and he's put that car into the barrier.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate mistake. Unfortunately, it's a very easy mistake to make. The exit of that corner is over a crest. It's very difficult to see where the curbing and the grass are, and unfortunately, he just made that error and hit the grass. And once you're on the grass, it's really hard to get control of the vehicle.
So Chris Knisley is now leading the race because he has not stopped yet. Of our drivers who have stopped, the order is Ellison, Albert, Hall, Bradley Daly, and Brandon Schoen. So Schoen is 15 seconds now behind Tom Ellison. That trip to the Armco has cost Schoen a little bit more than I thought. He's got that car fixed nicely. It's fueled to get to the end, but he is now 15 seconds or so away from the effective battle for the lead of the race. Said that even in clean air, this circuit is difficult to lap at speed, lap after lap, because of all of those blind apexes, because of all of those undulating braking zones. We've seen that it's cost Brandon Schoen pretty heavily there, just pushing a little bit too wide over one of those blind corners. Knisley is into the pits from the lead of the race.
Tom is flirting with the same mistake that we saw Schoen just make. He had two tires off there at the exit of that corner, so obviously it's not a uncommon thing to do there. So
just past the halfway point of the race, 29 minutes to go now, and we see two more drivers jump onto the pit lane. That's Chris Knisley and Lee Mullerman. So now only 4 drivers or so who have yet to pit. But Alex Albert still putting the pressure on Tom Ellison for what is the effective lead of the race. They've got Jay Safianek just in front of them, who hasn't pitted yet. They're closing in on him about 1.5 seconds per lap. So Ellison has a lot to think about right now. Alex Albert behind, trying to make a move on him. But Ellison's also going to need to work out where and how he sets up a move on Jay Safianek, who is not obligated in any way to jump out of the way for Tom Ellison. The track position belongs to Jay Safianek, but he'll know that Tom Ellison and Alex Albert are in the effective battle for the lead of the race, and he'll know that they were closing up very quickly on him indeed. So we'll see what happens there. But this is our closest battle.
Chris Knisley was just on pit road, and I noticed he took right side tires only.
That is an interesting strategy. We'll see what happens there, but Ellison is being held up behind Safianek right now. Let's get side by side. I think Ellison will come through here, and if Safianek is wise, he'll also let Alex Albert through indeed. He realizes that's not his battle and that it's not safe or wise to separate those two, but Albert also 4 tires on the grass on the exit there. But what he does is he doesn't give it too much throttle, and he doesn't give it too much steering input, so the car keeps facing straight. But it's bumper to bumper for the lead of the race. 2 more cars on the pit entry in front of them. That is going to be Scott Grinnell and Paul Roddy. So now Tom Ellison is back to the lead of the race. Everyone has pitted except for Jacob Beenan in this race. Now Jay Safianek also jumps in as well. So 27 minutes remaining, and most of the pit stops are going to be done. Ellison is leading, but only 0.3 of a second ahead of Alex Albert.
Yeah, it looks like Scott Cornell is taking tires, Jay Sofiniak is taking tires, and I'm not sure Paul Roddy is going to take tires. Looks like he's just taking fuel, but
For the
that
lead,
should be all
Albert
the regular
down
pit
the
stop.
inside. Can't get it done. Alex Albert went for a look down into turn 5 there. And yeah, you were rightly point out about the pit stops.
It's probably the best like passing opportunity I think you can have on the track without losing a terrible amount of time. And Justin Hall is quite far back from this battle, so I think unfortunately Justin has taken himself out of the battle with that slow pit stop. I really hate to see it. Justin has had a really good season this year, and he was contending for the win, so it's really unfortunate that he's lost so much time on that pit stop.
Yeah, indeed. His pit stop was 8 seconds longer than race leading Tom Ellison, and Hall is just over 9 seconds off the lead. So he would be in the picture, you would think, if that pit stop had been a similar amount of fuel to the other contenders. Guess the guy with the fuel jug was just a bit too enthusiastic.
Yeah. Looks like the last 3 laps or so, Albert and Ellison have both gone off in the same spot where Schoen made his mistake. So they are pushing pretty hard through that sector, and they are really trying to get everything they can, and even if it means putting 4 tires off.
Yeah, and the way that corner goes, you can hardly see the apex over the crest. You definitely can't see where the track goes over the hill and the exit, and I think half of it might be Alex Albert just following Tom Ellison, and you can sort of be tricked into using the car in front as a reference point in the absence of any other markers, any other places you can look to guide your line through that corner. So definitely is one of those corners where if the guy in front, it goes a bit wide, you can find yourself absent-mindedly following them out there as well.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I have done before here too. You're just so focused on the bumper of the guy ahead of you, and whoop, we're going off the grass. Why are we doing that for? It's an easy mistake to make, and veteran race car drivers should know to look for the markers on the racetrack and not necessarily to be fixed on the bumper of the guy ahead of you.
Yep, consciously break free of the sort of tunnel vision, as it were. So with most of the pit stops completed, the running order is Ellison ahead of Albert, 3rd place Justin Hall, and Bradley Daly holding on to 4th place there. Brandon Schoen is got the hammer down in 5th place. He might try and work his way back up through the order after we saw that costly error where he found the Armco. And then Knisley in 6th. Lee Mullerman is in 7th. Paul Roddy started in 12th, is up in 8th now after the pit stops. Scott Grinnell, as we said, in 9th. And Jay Sofiniak is your last car in the top 10. And definitely in a couple of laps' time, maybe look for a battle in 4th place, because Bradley Daly's just been putting in his laps, running to his pace. And Brandon Schoen, we know, has race leading pace, but finds himself 15 seconds off the lead. So he very well might be able to close in and pass Bradley Daly a little bit later. But other than that, the only battle on my timing screen right now is for the lead. And if you had to pick one position to have a battle for the lead of the race is a fantastic one to have between Ellison and Albert right now, where Ellison still holds on to it. Albert's just following him around right now.
Yeah, at this point of the race, we still have about 20 minutes left of the race, a little less. You kind of riding. You're trying to figure out how you're faster than the guy ahead of you. Where can you make that move? How can you make it stick? As Tom is defending here through this chicane. But yeah, that's what Albert is trying to get in the head of Ellison, see where he's the stronger car and where he can make this pass happen.
Gain always a variety of lines through this final turn 13, 14, 14A, turn 15, final section of corners, and I think Ellison gets the line just about right. That corner that has the pit entry on it, some drivers take a wider entry into it, some drivers take a narrower entry, some drivers are using it to set up their entry into the final corner. And no two drivers seem to take exactly the same line. Into turn 2 and 3, though, Ellison pushed a little bit wide. Albert thought about the inside, but Ellison managed to bring it back towards the apex. That corner just seems to go on forever. More than 180 degrees of right turning. Ellison's going to try and defend the inside into turn 5, but it's not enough. They're going to be side by side into turn 5. Albert has the inside. We've seen drivers defend around the outside, but I think Albert has got that for the lead of the race this time. Just got that better run out of the long right-hander, up the hill, and then into the braking zone for turn 5. To the inside, job done. Alex Albert leading the race once again from Tom Ellison.
I think Tom knows he's got pace here, and he knows that he's got the fastest lap, or he feels that he's got some pace. So I don't think Tom's too worried that Alex is by him. I think that this is a mind game now. You're trying to figure out, when's the best time to make this move so that you're the car that crosses that start-finish line in first place. As shown in daily, is spicing.
Ellison's going to take the lead again. So Ellison back through in that same lap. Let's look at 4th place. Brandon Schoen has closed up on Bradley Daly. A couple car lengths in it right now. And on the last lap, Schoen was about 0.4 of a second quicker. So he's there and thereabouts. And he looks to have the lines sorted a little bit more through this final sector. Schoen, of course, keeps all 4 tires on the black stuff there. He doesn't want to make a mistake like he did before, but he forces Bradley Daly into a mistake. 2 tires on the grass, big drift, nearly caught it, overcorrected, facing the wrong way in the gravel trap, but avoids the barrier. Daly waits for Chris Knisley to come through and then rejoins the race, but Bradley Daly loses 2 positions there, came under pressure and succumbed to Brandon Schoen, who's now through into 4th.
What a shame. Bradley Daly was having a great race there. Started 4th and was running 4th and looking really solid for a top 5 finish. And he might get it back, but unfortunately, that mistake is going to put him back down to 6th.
Again, that long section of corners in the final sector there where you get a little bit wide, 2 tires on the grass, and the car stops turning and you go all the way out wide. I was so hoping for him to be able to catch that Tokyo drift, but in the end, car was on the lock stops, and then when it did grip up, it spat him back the other way. And so one you got to look out for trying to save one of these cars. Of course, they're relatively nimble, but that can also mean that they can be a little bit twitchy occasionally, especially well past the limit of the grip when you've got 45 degrees of drift angle or more on it, like Bradley Daly there. Did a good job to keep it off the barrier, though, so his race isn't over. He might still be able to catch Chris Knisley.
He did a good job of just parking it in the kitty litter. I mean, it's easy to put in the wall there. So that's the important thing, is that he didn't damage the car permanently. As Tom goes 2 tires off again through his favorite corner. So he is still pushing here.
I commend Bradley Daly on that rejoin, though. Heads up to wait a second to let Chris Knisley through so he didn't rejoin onto the racing line in front of his competitor there. I think that shows a lot of maturity and a lot of understanding from Bradley Daly. And I think while he made that mistake, lost those positions, I think it bodes well for him in future races and for the remainder of this race that he was heads up to know where the other cars were around him and not to throw it all away on being too hasty rejoining the track. So congratulate him on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Team owners watching this race, you're looking for a guy to rent your car. That's who you want to rent your car, the guy who's going to look up before he pulls out in front of somebody. Looks like Albert has dropped back about 2 or 3 tenths from Ellison this past lap here.
It was bumper to bumper for a couple of laps there, but there's now a couple car lengths in it, 6 tenths, 7 tenths or so. Albert will still pick up a slipstream in all the relevant places, but it isn't exactly there. The only other battle forming up is now over 8th and 9th. It looks like Grinnell might come back at Paul Roddy. At the moment, our 2 big movers in the race are Tom Ellison and Paul Roddy, who are both up 4 positions from their starting spot on the grid.
Yeah, it looks like Brandon Schoen is closing in slightly on Justin Hall. That last time by, he was about 2/10 quicker. So, um, he's moving up a little bit. He's making moves and trying to regain something from this race.
Gonna have a look at Jay Safiniak in 10th. That engine is looking very worse for wear. Sometimes it can happen. You damage the engine over revving it if you get a bad downshift, and certainly Safiniak is well down on power, dropping down, and we'll try and find where he's done that, but I assume that car is headed straight for pit lane.
Yeah.
And if he still has a fast repair, they'll be able to swap that motor. But otherwise, if he still had the fast repair checked at his first pit stop and had damage, maybe even a bent fender, he might have used up that fast repair in the first pit stop. We'll see.
Yeah, unfortunately, David looks like he just did it to the hairpin. He got a little ambitious with the downshifts and blew the motor, which is a shame. Jade had a good run going this race as well. He was up a few spots and having a really great race with Aaron Thorpe and Scott Grinnell and Paul Roddy. So definitely a bummer for this car to blow an engine. It's a easy thing to do, and it's not a good feeling to hear that engine hit revs that it doesn't meant to hit.
Saving grace, though, is he hasn't completely grenaded the motor. He's just given it a very significant amount of damage. So he did manage to work his way around the circuit to the pit lane, lost a lot of time doing so, and did not use his fast repair in the first pit stop. So he pulls into the pit stall, and with the magic of technology, they managed to swap that Mazda motor for a brand new one in 3.9 seconds, which is very, very commendable work, I have to say. But that's in the spirit of the ChampCar Sim Series. Yeah, exactly. That's in the spirit of the ChampCar Sim Series. All the drivers have a fast repair to use, because even though in the real world you have no such luck, you want to look after the car. It's in the spirit of friendly competition here that we want to see everyone take the checkered flag, get their lap times in, get their seat time on the sim. So Jay Safiniak returns in 11th place, having now been the only driver to make 2 trips down onto pit lane.
Trying to make that 2-stop work, David. Looks like we have a battle between Jared Douglas and David Palermo, both a lap down, but that's not stopping them from having a great race.
Grinnell's just gotten through on Paul Roddy, so Paul Roddy's no longer our big mover because he's lost one position to Scott Grinnell there. I missed looking at it myself, but they were having a bit of a battle on the timing screen, and now Grinnell has gotten on through on Roddy. It's 10 laps to go for these guys, so do not put it past Paul Roddy to maybe come back at him. The hunter may become the hunted in this case. The pressure now on Scott Grinnell, and we've seen that even for our leading drivers, the pressure can get to them. There's plenty of places to make a mistake, and when you're looking forward, looking in your mirrors, and looking at traffic, mistakes can happen.
Yeah, it's something we've seen in this series before in past seasons, where the leader has a big lead and blows an engine or has an issue and has to come get that fast repair. So that's one of the wonderful things about this series, is that you get all the seat time you need, is get that fast repair, get that quick replaced engine, and get back out on track.
Lead of the race, they were side by side through turns 2 and 3. Albert has a good run at Ellison, but I think rolls out of the throttle towards turn 5. So I think Albert's keeping his powder dry at this point. He definitely had the momentum and the run to make a lunge down the inside of turn 5 if he wanted to, and decides against it. Just an interesting move. The two of them are going to catch Jay Safiniak to put him a lap down shortly as well. So that might give Ellison a bit of anxiety. But if memory serves, around about the time of the pit stops, Ellison and Albert needed to pass Safiniak for track position, and he made it relatively easy for them. So I think he's also one of those drivers, his head on his shoulders, right, switched on, aware of where the traffic is around him. So I don't think it'll be too much trouble from Safiniak.
Yeah, it looks like Brandon Schoen has been setting the timing charts afire. He has been in the mid 140s the last 4 or 5 laps. He is really pushing hard to gain some of that time he's lost back, as the leaders are in the 141 range.
Yep, Schoen is just now within 1 second of Justin Hall, so a battle for third forming up as well. Great in this final 12 minutes or so of the race to have a couple more battles closing in. You mentioned Jared Douglas and David Palermo earlier, and I don't know, there was a bit of other stuff going on at the time. What was the result there? Is that a position gained for Jared Douglas?
I think so, yeah. I think Jared Douglas got by him, and I'm just realizing that they have opposite paint jobs, which is kind of an interesting thing. I'm not sure if they are teammates and planned it, but both run in Gulf's colors, but in opposite layouts, so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Blue with the orange stripe and orange with the blue stripe there in a battle over 12th place.
I think this battle for the lead is going to come right down to the last lap. I think that both these guys are playing a little bit of chess, trying to figure out who wants to lead, who wants to follow. I mean, even if this isn't a super drafty track, this is that kind of racing where you might lead the second to last lap, but you might not come around to get the win. So I think that's kind of what's going on between Albert and Ellison here.
Yeah, every track seems to be a draft track if you're racing Mazdas. Having seen battery tender Global MX5 Cup at Mid-Ohio, which one does not normally think of as a particularly strong draft track, well, it is in those cars. Same is true of Laguna Seca, where this championship is heading to later, where this championship is heading to later in the season. So, yeah, indeed, another one of those circuits where you don't think of it as a lot of time wide open throttle, but in a car with naturally aspirated four-cylinder like this, and the racing's pretty close, every track is a draft track, every little bit helps. So Tom Ellison now is might be losing just a tiny bit of time behind Jay Safianek right now. Needs to make a decisive move, pushes wide through 2 and 3. Albert thinks about putting his nose down the inside potentially through here. I think Ellison's going to have to make a big move down the inside of turn 5 to put Jay Safianek a lap down. He signals his intentions, and I think Safianek is heads up enough that he'll probably let this happen pretty easily. So Ellison is through to put that driver 1 lap down. Albert comes on through as well. Third is close now.
Yes, third is very close, as Brandon Schoen has closed up on the bumper of Justin Hall into the hairpin, and they are headed down towards the chicane. Schoen's been putting some good lap times on the board, and I think that if he is pushing as hard as he is, I think that he has his eyes on third place, which would be a good recovery for the mistake that he made early in the race.
The only thing we can say here is that Justin Hall's definitely not short on fuel. No lift and coast can be required for him. He can go full rich to the end, which is sort of been his downfall in his pursuit for the win of this race. He's got Schoen right at his bumper, but this back section of the circuit is not an easy place to pass. Schoen is going to try for the inside. 2 cars through there is very, very close, and that inside becomes the outside, but can he cross it back underneath? Schoen has a bit of a run to the inside of turn 13. None of these are particularly conventional overtaking positions, I must say.
No, it's very aggressive driving by Schoen, but great driving by both to keep themselves pointed the right direction. I think that those are not traditional spots you want to
wide off the final corner. So Schoen has a look towards the inside of turn 1, which is a far more conventional overtaking opportunity. For the final step on the podium, Hall is deep on the brakes around the outside, holds onto the track position, gives him the inside for this right-hander that just keeps on going. It's not over for Schoen, because if he can take a late apex, get the throttle open early to the inside of turn 5 might be an opportunity. Yeah, great driving from both of these guys so far.
Yeah, great drive from Justin there, diving deep into turn 1. That means it gives him the inside of the next corner. He's able to defend nicely, and he still maintains that third place spot as Albert and Ellison are looking dicey.
Yep, indeed. It's getting to the pointy end of the race now. 1 hour of racing leads towards this. So they're within the final 10 minutes. And a couple of other battles are closing up as well that we don't quite have as much time as we'd like to look at. So it's bumper to bumper for the lead of the race.
Well, Daly off the racetrack, and it looks like he's made a mistake and lost a spot to Lee Milliman. As the leaders are too wide. Okay. There's too many battles to cover, David. Too many exciting things going on.
Yep. So Bradley Daly has lost at least a position or so. He was one of the battles. The other 3 remaining battles is this one for the lead, that battle over 3rd place, and Paul Roddy and Scott Grinnell still fighting it out over 8th. Paul Roddy's gotten back
Shown on the
through.
inside of Justin Hall, and he makes it stick coming onto the start-finish straight.
That is a very interesting move to get to the inside of turn 14 and 14A, and then somehow get clear before turn 15. So Brandon Schoen into 3rd position.
There's a smoking car on pit road. Looks like David Palermo has had some unfortunate trouble with his engine.
Now side by side for the lead of the race into turn 5. Albert has his nose in front, but all the way around the outside. I don't think that's going to work. Ellison gets a good exit.
Albert has a great exit though, and he's coming onto the inside here. This is a very difficult corner to go 2x2. Tom has got to give this spot up if he wants to. Oh, he holds it on the outside. Tom over the curb, both of them too wide through this very tight section. Amazing driving by both to not hit each other and give each other plenty of room as they go side by side down to this next chicane.
Jason Fianiak, who went a lap down, is now still following along with these guys. He's got the best seat in the house to watch the battle for the lead of this race. And the lap times have dropped off a little bit for our leading pair. Most of the laps, Brandon Schoen's been the fastest car out there. So these guys are starting to get dicey, and they cross the line this time. I believe it will be 4 laps to go. So underneath 10 miles of racing remaining in this battle for the lead of the race. It definitely looks like it is not done yet. They're starting to throw some punches.
Yeah, they are definitely throwing punches, going too wide through sections of the track that I do not have the gall to do. These guys both race together quite a bit, teammates, and they know each other very well. So that's what makes good racing here, is that these guys trust each other so much and are willing to do things that most of us are probably not willing to do here around Barber Motorsports Park.
Update on David Palermo. A lot of damage on that car, and it appears he didn't save his fast repair after the first stop, because that car has now been on pit road longer than 5 minutes. So unfortunate, probably end of the race there for David Palermo. Probably not going to get that car back out in the remaining 5 minutes, which is a real shame. Bradley Daly's also made a second trip onto pit road. 0.3 seconds in his box would suggest that he'd saved his fast repair for when it was needed. Battle for the lead is still within a car's length, though.
Yeah, they are very close indeed, as Tom taking a wide line through the chicane. Alex taking a much tighter line right on the bumper of Tom as they come down through this wider chicane. Both these guys have been going wide on the exit here. Let's see what they do.
Yeah, through the corner that's been causing a lot of people some problems. They both keep it all on the paved stuff. Ellison takes a bit of a narrower line, defending the inside there. Gives Albert a great line to set up a run out the final corner.
Both these guys seem to be doing exactly what they need to be doing. Tom is kind of parking right on the apex, taking those wide lines, and Alex is really taking advantage of having the more aggressive line, and both of these guys are just driving brilliantly right now.
Oh, almost a tiny bit of a tap on the rear quarter through there. Ellison was a bit wide in turn 2. Albert with the tighter line. Ellison looks like he's still got it covered on the way down into turn 5. It's definitely getting racy. 3 minutes to go for round 13 of ChampCar Sim Series from Barber Motorsports Park. Out of turn 5, Albert with a good run again, and Ellison seems to struggle with some of the gear shifts in that section of the track. Albert really gets a good run towards the next sector. He puts his nose down the inside once again to force Ellison offline, but this time he'll let him take the final apex. He'll try and hook the throttle on the exit. This is a very, very interesting fight, and I think when it comes to the last lap, all bets will be off. Everything will be on the table.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't think I think it might come down to using the bumpers. I wouldn't put it past either of these guys to give it a little bump and rub to the end. But Alex Albert is giving it everything he has to Tom Ellison, putting it all over his bumper, trying his best to get by as we come to about 2 laps to go the next time by the stripe.
A lot of very interesting considerations for Tom Ellison here is on a matter of pride, I'm sure he would love to win this race, but he is co-owner of HJ Motorsports with Alex Albert, who is in the championship fight, and we talked about the prize at the top of the broadcast. It's almost in Ellison's financial interests to well, definitely not take Albert out of the championship fight.
They are too wide for this long carousel corner.
Yeah. You know, Ellison has to weigh his pride against a bit of sensibility. He's going to squeeze him all the way onto the grass. Albert to the inside of turn 5. 2 laps to go. White flag will be shown next time, and Ellison does not want to give anything up. He wants to win this race. Look at that.
Out the window. He is racing for the win. Tom Ellison putting it out on the table. And what driving by both of them. Tom with the pinch, Alex on the grass saying, I'm not going to lift, as they go too wide into this tight chicane.
So Albert has the inside, but Ellison still holds it around the outside. Clear at the final apex is Alex Albert, so he can take the regular line. Here comes Ellison. He's got to run to this back straight chicane. Can they go too wide through here? He's going to try and squeeze him down. Alex Albert will, but Ellison will get a much better run off the exit potentially. We're within the last minute of racing, and neither of these guys is going to give up on this. We saw that on the run into turn 5. Expect it to only get crazier from here. Both of these guys want a win in ChampCar Sim Series. Ellison, all 4 on the grass. Last section of corners before they come onto the pit straight, and the flag man will wave that white flag, and we'll have one more
lap car here of Jared Douglas out here that could be a factor. Hopefully he'll see these fast approaching leaders as we come white flag.
Last lap, 2.3 miles of racing to go, and Alex Albert is leading. Expect Tom Ellison to put it all on the table to try and win this. And as you point out, Jared Douglas in front of them, going to go a lap down on the final lap. Will he have any effect on this battle for the lead? Probably not. Albert on through, Ellison through as well for the win of this race on the last lap. Ellison throws it in deep on the brakes.
Yep, Tom is really trying to get to the bumper here of Alex. He threw it really deep, brakes quite a bit deeper than Alex to coming down to this chicane.
Let's Ellison get a bit closer. He had a good run off that corner as well, but where can he pass on the remainder of this lap? It would have to be an absolute Hail Mary or a mistake from Alex Albert. Through this sector though, Tom Ellison closes car length, gives a bit of a rub on the back bumper on the exit as well. Where on earth in the remainder of half of the lap can Tom Ellison find a way to get past? Alex Albert is still leading. He just needs to make no mistakes, needs to cover every inside to every corner, and he can be the winner of this race. Ellison wants it as well. We've seen what he's prepared to do to try and take this win through this corner. Who's going to keep all 4 tires on the black stuff? Both of them. Can Ellison throw it down the inside of the final corner, or on the inside here? Albert has the inside covered into 14A. What about the final corner? Albert will have to cover it, surely. And he does.
Oh, it's a drag race.
Bumper to bumper drag race off the final corner. To the checkered flag. 2 tires on the grass for Tom Ellison. He's closing to the line. He's going to have 1 car width exactly. But who had it?
Alex Albert by inches. By inches. 0.013 of a second. Alex Albert takes the win there. What an incredible finish.
100th of a second for the win there. Alex Albert ahead of Tom Ellison. The battle for 3rd place, bit of a problem for Justin Hall on the final lap, so Brandon Schoen will wrap up 3rd position. A couple more cars still to finish. Chris Knisley's already across the line for 5th. So Mullerman, Roddy, Scott Grinnell, and Aaron Thorpe, the remaining cars. Scott Grinnell's had an issue on a previous lap as well, because he's dropped back from that battle he had with Paul Roddy. But what a battle in those last couple of laps, Tom Ellison and Alex Albert. It's what we wanted to see. And Albert, our winner, and we knew he was going to have to defend into the final corner, and he did.
Man, I tell you what,
last car on the lead lap, Aaron Thorpe.
Whew, that was quite the final lap. I mean, Tom and Alex had been fighting for it the last 5 laps. We knew it was going to come down to that last lap. I didn't think Tom really had it in him to get that pass done, but Alex took the shallow line through the last corner, gave Tom the good run onto the front straight, and I had no clue who was going to win that race when it came to the start finish line.
We're going to watch that back in slow motion, give you a replay of the drag race for the win. After 1 hour of racing, after one pit stop apiece for our competitors, it comes down to 0.013 of a second for the win, and Alex Albert just kept his nose in front. You could tell neither of those guys were going to lift on the way to the line. Ellison was 2 tires on the grass for part of that front stretch, and you knew he was not going to lift no matter the circumstances. Great racing, inches given, but at exactly the right places. Clean, fair racing, but both of them racing very, very hard indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. The cleanest racing I've seen in a long time between two really, really talented guys. Great racing to the very, very, very end of the lap. And, the whole race, 1 hour of action-packed racing all through the grid. So fantastic race. And let's see if we can get some of these guys in the booth and interview.
Yep. We'll give you the results, and then we will be able to speak to our podium finishers. So our winner was Alex Albert from Tom Ellison. Recovering to the final step on the podium, could have been a shoe-in for the win. Brandon Schoen, I hope we see him again in ChampCar Sim Series. There's a lot of potential there. Justin Hall in 4th. Chris Knisley gets 5th place. Lee Moorman in 6th. And because of the issues for Bradley Daly, Paul Roddy is our big mover, up 5 spots to finish 7th. Hard charge up Paul Roddy. At 8th place, Scott Grinnell. 9th and last car on the lead lap was Aaron Thorpe. Josephinak had good pace late in the race to stick with the leaders from 1 lap down, but he gets 10th place. Bradley Daly, 2 pit stops for him on his way to 11th place. Jacob Beenan gets 12th. Jared Douglas, 13th. And David Palermo, 7 laps down in 14th. Remaining cars were non-starters for round 13 of ChampCar Sim Series from Barber Motorsports Park. But we have been down to the paddock. We have, Andrew Fawcett's on his way down to the paddock, and I will bring in, if I can, our race winner by 1/100th of a second, Alex Albert. Alex, first of all, congratulations. Great show you guys put on, but that was fender to fender. Neither of you guys were going to give up on that.
Oh, no, couldn't. It's getting towards the end of the season. These points are just too valuable to give up, this late in the season. And I knew raced with Tom a lot and knew we'd both be very respectful, but race each other hard. And I think that's what we did. We were able to run very, very close. And my biggest concern there in the late going was keeping it off of him and not so much getting by him. But I just wanted to have a good race and be clean, and gave him a little nudge there, but it was just over the line. So I think all's fair on the last lap.
Yeah, and I think he gave you a teeny bit of a squeeze onto the grass a couple laps to go, and then you sort of gave it back in that drag race to the checkered flag. So all fair there?
Yeah, coming down to, like I said, it was, I think, 2 to go, and they're going towards turn 5. Yeah, he squeezed me over there at the left side of the track, but, I understand he was trying to make me take the long way around and take the preferred line. I was just able to get my car positioned over there a little bit earlier. I tried to do it a few laps before that. I had tried it, but he had cut it off. So I knew I had to be decisive once he went to shut it off, and that, involved going 2 in the grass, but was able to keep it straight, keep it pinned, and come away with the win. So I'm really glad.
The elephant in the room here is the driver not on the grid, John D. Allen. You take another win for 2 in a row. What's your understanding of the point situation? Because as you say, every point matters, getting deep in the championship, and a big prize on the line that I think a lot of people would like to win.
Yeah, I did. I was looking at it before this race, and it looked like if he showed up tonight and won out the remainder of the season, there wouldn't be anything I could do. So, since he wasn't here tonight, I guess I'll have to do some more calculations leading into next week, and just figure out what we need to do. But my main goal would just be to keep trying to win at the front and run at the front, qualify up front, and finish up front. Out of the 2 tracks that we have left to go, VIR North is one of my better courses. Struggle a little bit at Laguna Seca, so I think I might give up a little something to the other guys that run up front, like Justin, Tom. But yeah, we'll just have to show up and see how the chips fall.
Well, thank you for putting on such a fantastic show at the head of the field and giving us racing all hour long. Any final remarks out of you? Any last shout outs you might need to give?
I just want to say thanks to Tom for the great race tonight. Had a lot of fun, and thanks to you guys for putting on this broadcast. I know it's a lot of work, but really appreciate it, and look forward to watching it back here a little bit later.
Thanks, Alex. Thank you for making the time to speak with us, and congratulations on your win. We'll move on to our second place finisher. And did you want to talk to him, Andrew?
Yeah, I'd love to. Tom, fantastic race all hour long. I mean, we really enjoyed it. Just talk us through those last couple laps as you were battling there for the win.
Well, it was a bit of fun. I think after the pit stops, Alex was content to sit behind me and save some fuel. I think he short fueled a little bit just to not lose too much track position. So after the other guys had a little bit of trouble with their pit stops, it was just between the 2 of us. He managed to get past. I wasn't going to fight him too hard. I was just trying to drive a little bit defensively. He made a good move, multiple corners, and, fair play, great move. I think we fought each other very cleanly and fairly. Then final lap, I was trying to get back around him, but he was positioning his car nicely, didn't touch him. Coming through the final corner, I got a little bit of a run on the grass. I don't know if that slowed me down a touch, but I was able to get alongside. It just wasn't quite enough before the line. I think it was like 0.013 seconds at the line. So fair play, great battle. Always fun to race against Alex, and pleased with the race that we were able to put on for you guys.
Yeah, we thoroughly enjoyed it up here in the booth. We were yelling and screaming, watching it to the end. We did have a question though. Was the financial implications coming across your mind there with about 2 or 3 to go? We know Alex is leading the championship, and that has certain advantages. And we were wondering, if that came into your mind at all.
Honestly, it did not. I would go out there to race as hard as I can. I think anything else would be actually disrespectful to Alex. He's a fierce competitor. He knows that I'm a fierce competitor, and we both know each other, and we're able to race each other cleanly and closely. So I was going for the win.
Well, fair play. We really appreciate that, and that shows us you guys are both real racers, and we really, really enjoyed the race you guys had tonight. Anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Shout out, of course, to the boys back at the Huge Ass Technical Center. Couldn't have done this race without them. Thanks also to you guys, David, Andrew, and Michael in the production booth. Really great to have these broadcasts. And thank you everyone who came out who raced and supported the ChampCar Sim Series this round. We had a good field, I think. Certainly, double figures in terms of grid size, some good pace, some good racing throughout. And this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to build this. We're trying to bring this series forward into something that can be a good partnership with ChampCar and can be an avenue into racing for people who maybe don't have the opportunity to do so on their own, and that's what we really want to do. So thank you for supporting us. Thank you to everyone for giving their time this evening, and hopefully we can continue this upward momentum and grow the series again in 2020.
Well, thank you for the great race, and thank you for putting on this great series. That's Tom Ellison, finished second tonight by fraction of a second, and gave us that great finish.
Yeah, indeed. Fantastic racing that we've seen. Can't say enough about that finish. Took all of our breath away, and I'll be definitely watching that one again. But thank you so much to you, Andrew Fawcett, for joining me. I'm David Haynes. Michael Derby has been on the cameras and the production side of things, and we cannot do it without him. We want to thank everyone who has tuned in. Please do subscribe here to Huge Ass on YouTube, where we bring live coverage of the Reddit iRacing League every round of the ChampCar Sim Series, and also live on board when we race in ChampCar Endurance Series. We do appreciate your support. And the next round of ChampCar Sim Series, December 4th at VIR North. So that is going to be an exciting race as well. 2 rounds to go. The final is December 18th at Laguna Seca, and you'll be able to watch both of them live and also video on demand here on YouTube. Thank you so much, everyone who's tuned in and watched. We look forward to seeing you again. Good night. Hi, it's iRacing commentator David Haynes. In 2019, I'm excited to be bringing coverage of the ChampCar Sim Series, the sim racing division of the ChampCar Endurance Series. Contested across 15 championship rounds using the 2015 Mazda MX-5, the winners will receive a free entry into a real ChampCar Endurance Series race in the 2020 season. Each points round will be broadcast live by HJBC. Head to forum.champcar.org for full information and schedule. Sign-ups are open, so get registered now. Best of luck, and I'll see you at the track.